Top focus at this hour, trilateral talks between Russian President Vladimir Putin, Azerbaijani President Ilham Aliyev and Armenian Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan are set to take place later today in Moscow over the Nagorno-Karabakh settlement. The tripartite talks initiated by Russian President Vladimir Putin is to bring the leaders of Armenia and Azerbaijan together, nearly 2 months after a Moscow-brokered agreement that ended 6 weeks of fighting between the two sides. The three sides now are due to discuss the Nagorno-Karabakh peace deal, as well as further steps to resolve disputes between Armenia, Azerbaijan and more. The talks will also focus on aiding residents of the war zone and unblocking economic and transportation links between the countries. Armenian Prime Minister Pashinyan also released an official statement confirming the upcoming trilateral talks. The Prime Minister's spokesperson said on Sunday that talks will not include any signing of documents on the resolution of the Karabakh issue. Pashinyan is also likely to hold a private meeting with the Russian president as part of his working visit. Nearly 5,000 soldiers on both sides died in fighting over the disputed territory of Nagorno-Karabakh before Russia brokered a truce on November 10th. Armenia withdrew from several Azerbaijani regions that it had occupied for nearly 3 decades under the deal, which is now being overseen by Russian peacekeepers. WION's correspondent Stuart Smith joins us live from Moscow for more on this story. Welcome to WION, Stuart. Tell us about the agenda and expected outcomes of these talks, where Russia, of course, will play a huge role.
Indeed, Russia is being seen as the kingmaker in these talks. Russia still sees the Caucasus, where Azerbaijan and Armenia are, as part of its domain, seeing as both of those countries are post-Soviet countries. And the talks today are looking not at a signing of any new agreement. These are really just an opportunity for the two leaders to come together with the supervision of Russian President Vladimir Putin to discuss what can happen next. As things stand, we have Russian peacekeepers, nearly 2,000 Russian peacekeepers, in the disputed territory of Nagorno-Karabakh, and they're there to ensure peace, to ensure that fighting does not continue, and also to demine the area which was heavily mined during the fighting. Russia is also investing heavily in aid in the area and is wanting to make sure that this region develops back into a situation of economic stability and trade so that relations can resume as normal. But there are things still to be agreed upon. The agreement in November, the ceasefire agreement, was just that. It was an agreement on how to stop the fighting. It's not an agreement as to where to go next. And that's what these two leaders, with President Putin, will be trying to discuss. But definitely a lot of high emotions amongst both countries. The Armenian Prime Minister, when trying to get to Russia yesterday, was nearly stopped. His convoy in Armenia was nearly stopped by protesters, and police had to intervene to let him through. It gives you a sense of the strength of feeling in a country which feels like it's lost out hugely from this war.
Right, absolutely, Stuart. That actually brings me to my next question. The Armenian Prime Minister was heavily criticized earlier for giving up, well, supposedly giving up the disputed territory to Azerbaijan. So do we expect any change in status quo in these talks?
No change in the status quo. I think this ceasefire, which has already been agreed, will be the starting point for any future discussions. And as part of that, territory is unlikely to be seen as something which is debatable, something which can be played around with. The fact that they managed to get a ceasefire in the first place with these territories assigned to either country was a good starting point. They won't want to touch that now. However, they will be looking to how to improve economic relations and trade route, transport routes through the various parts of the country. Part of the problem with this territory is it's not a homogeneous block. It's divided into separate exclaves and enclaves, and that means transport and getting around is very difficult, as well as ensuring security. The talks will be about how to ensure that can happen safely, and also about getting aid back into the country. And President Emmanuel Macron of France has even got involved as well. That's because, as part of the 1994 peace agreement, way back when the last ceasefire was signed, the USA and France, as well as Russia, were involved in talks. And this shows what can happen if this next step is not done well. We have a ceasefire. We had a ceasefire in 1994. But what then didn't happen in 1994 was a future agreement. What they're trying to ensure this time is that a future agreement provides a stable future for both countries.
Right, absolutely. Stuart, thank you so much for joining us on WION, and thank you for all your insights.